living in a place where Bureau Veritas, who's Mr. Herschel?
Herschel.
Mr. Herschel, our Bureau Veritas that council selected some time ago, I requested that he come out to this meeting. He's the fire specialist. He said, this is a problem. It went down to the point where there wasn't enough water coming out to brush your teeth. And this is in front of where we have approximately 300 students living. That's the emergency. If we, and it's not the first time, there have been house or kitchen fires, whatever you want to call them, but we've had a few fires in the city. We had one on University Drive just a few weeks ago and a house burned down. This is very real. And for us to now know, because as I found out, I saw these reports for the first time roughly a week ago, maybe 8 days, and that's when I brought it to council's attention, passed out all the information, emails and reports that I had, and got with Attorney Kerwin to see how was it best to put it on agenda so the council could take a look, understand, discuss as you're doing, and make a decision to do what we need. Remember, what you're looking at here, this is a city line. The city line has nothing to do with Brookside. That's our line that our volunteer fire department are going to be counting on when they go over there to help people. It's our line. Brookside has 21 owners, and contacting them will be a nightmare, but this is not on their property. It's on ours. And this is our water line, and in addition to this, we have a gas station on the corner. That's the emergency, folks.
So this paper right here from Superior Automatic Fire System, is this what they're recommending?
That's what they and Mr. Herschel, the fire guy, that's what they were saying is the best and quickest, because what Mr. Glover shared and Mr. Byron touched on it, is we've got a 12-inch coming out from our water tower number 2 north of in the back of the university. And they routed through the Dooley neighborhood, cutting it down to as much as 2 to 3, and then it expands out again along Richards Road. So that's why there's little to no pressure there, because it's going from a small line trying to fill the bigger one, and that's where the air pockets come in and creates problems. Yes, sir. Councilman Jones.
Have you guys got the opportunity to look at this? 'Cause I don't want to
I
make a
just seen it
decision.
today. I don't have one in front of me.
Well, is it? Well, no.
This is, just for the record, Councilman Jones and others, this is the type of thing that Councilman Rowland mentioned, and when fire experts out there mentioned this was what we needed to take care of that area, I said, give us a proposal on what it would take to do it. And they're ready to move in and do a temporary tank pump thing, because these are custom ordered. But again, my job is to bring the information to you. If you want some more, some else, whatever, that's what I'm doing. Yes, sir.
How fast do we need to make a decision? I mean, I understand, but I personally, hear everything you guys just said, don't feel comfortable making this decision until you guys thoroughly read this.
But again, just as far as facilities on an emergency contract, that's more of a distribution city line. So, truth be told, if there's a fire, y'all are the defenseless.
The reality is, like you said, there is no immediate fix. So whether there's a fire today or in the next, however long it takes to do whatever it is that we decide to do, we're still gonna be in the same boat. So the thing that we have to do now is figure out whatever that we do today is not going to be a temporary fix. It's going to be the right fix. It's going to push the city forward long term. So it's not about fixing it for tomorrow. It's about fixing it for 30 years from now.
Yes.
And so I think with Councilman Jones's uncertainty is, you know, we're trying to develop this plan, but we don't have the people who have the knowledge. Like, they haven't had a chance to sit at the same table to discuss the plan. And so I feel like that's a conversation that needs to happen with the USW being our contracted operations people as far as our water system, our fire chief, our mayor who leads our city, and then we figure out what we do today that will fix the problem, because obviously whatever we do is not gonna, it's gonna take at least a couple of months for the installation, all of that, but we don't want it to, we don't want to sit here 5 years from now and deal with the same problem. And long before Mayor Allen was the mayor, the city has had a tendency of kicking the can down the street. Like we're gonna fix it for a little bit, and then we're gonna have to face the problem again whenever. So I want, because y'all said y'all haven't seen this proposal. I would, and I think that's what Councilman Johnson, I would like you all to look at the proposal, Chief Bordeaux, look at the proposal, and using your expertise, either say, this is a record, and obviously, Mr. Johnson has to be at that table because there's a significantly large dollar amount at the back of this proposal. So,
Share with me, what's the dollar on the back of it?
now you don't wanna know.
285.
284.
Okay, with that, this is what y'all can do for me tonight. Just give, because it's not a budget item, just give me a direction to explore the possibility of a loan. I can then, we've had this happen in the past, and if y'all just give me that directive, I can then move forward, because I just did some numbers right quick, and I can look at a 6-year no loan. It's gonna run you about $5,200 a month at 5%. And that's what we've done in the past. So if y'all give me that direction, I can start exploring what the banks.
We didn't say we're gonna do that, we said we're gonna talk.
No, I'm just, all I'm saying is,
I get,
In other words, there's no commitment, you just wanna get started in the
Exactly.
process.
start doing the research.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're gonna have the money, the money's gonna have to be paid. The dollar amount may change, but at the end of the day, we're gonna have to pay for something that we can't afford at this time. I mean, there's a time and a place to talk about the formalities or the bureaucracy about why we're in the situation that we're in, but at the end of the day, it's still a liability for the city, it's still a burden on the city, and the responsibility ultimately falls on the city. So I think the things that we're making the focus needs to be put on the back burner as we figure out the plan. I think the step is, like I said, that you guys, the mayor, need to sit at the same table and bring to us whether y'all say, oh, this plan, who is Superior Automatic Fire System, Mr. Mayor?
They're a member of American or something. They're a big sprinkler system situation, and because of they're installing the sprinklers for the system across the street, and they're certified, and Chief Bordeaux, you know about this because you was at another one beside the one I was at Friday. They're certified to come out and test this thing, but on behalf of the city, that's why I have Bureau Veritas and their fire inspector, because they're our independent contractor. And these folks come up with somewhat of a circular system, and I agree with you, Councilman Randall, it's not gonna fix, what is set to fix, and Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, is it's gonna cover the Chevron gas station, Brookside, any development on the corner, and the new one, once the city's pressure is adequate to allow our firemen and women, when they go out there to fix something. But it's for that quadrant.
You said this,
It's not gonna drop when you add another fire hydrant to it? Did it stay the same?
No, it won't drop. You're talking about after all this is done?
Yeah, so after all this is done,
Right.
then, the new housing, and I don't need to touch on it, but just asking, when we add the new housing and they add their own fire hydrant,
Inside the complex,
yeah,
correct.
that doesn't affect the.
That water pressure, once it has been, once we decide, and I think we're missing one more thing, Mayor and Council, we need to get the city engineer involved.
You're right.
We're trying to take on something that, and attorney, you spoke on this one time before, we need to get the city engineer involved. We need that expertise from that level, fire, as well as public works. And we just need to see how we can work this out, because like I said, this is not an overnight fix.
Right, okay, so my next question is gonna be, given you guys' expertise and your knowledge, how long do you think it would take you guys to put your heads together and bring us a plan? First, I guess first it's gonna depend on how soon you can get in touch with the
City
city.
engineer.
You need the city engineer.
That's just a lot.
So, this is where I'm going with this. Today is Monday, right? I would imagine we would try to reach out to the city engineer, tomorrow. And if we hadn't heard back from the city engineer and he hadn't made any steps towards coming down here to help us rectify the situation, then we have to start looking for a new city engineer.
Exactly.
I think the mayor gave us a letter in reference to from the city engineer on, I don't know if those are his recommendations or from his company that was dated May 8th. I don't know if that addresses this issue specifically with the water line. I think that issue, this issue addresses,
It does not address
The
the
student housing.
situation.
so in this, I guess my question is, in the emails, Mr. Mayor, from Superior Automotive Fire Systems, they're the one doing the sprinklers at the Panther Hill Apartments, correct?
And they're, some of those folks who are certified to install that above ground water pump tank, but yes.
So the flow tests and all the things that were started, I'm trying to connect, because in the emails that we got, that I read all the emails, there was an email from Superior Automatic Fire System to the developers, Mr. Inac, or whatever his name is, dated in December, that said that there's no water pressure and some of these issues. And so with the city taking on this additional burden of $284,000, that the water now, us bringing, if we were to go with this, whatever they said would fix the issue, then we bring on 700 more toilets or whatever, and then you have, anything, we get another big apartment. In this, will that be able to handle everything we're talking about? Or are we just fixing something to short-term temporarily? Like, so this development, this $285,000 from the same company that was doing the sprinkler system at Panther Hill, they're now putting in a bid to do the whole system here for the city. We're saying that who's gonna share in the cost of this? Because shouldn't some cost differential been put into the development at Panther Hill? This came about through Panther Hill. Panther Hill brought them to do the flow test. That's how we found out about this. But this is the same company who's doing the work for Panther Hill. So I'm saying that since we're saying, hey, say we do need it, this $285,000, that's a portion or something should have been included in Panther Hill's development, which it says from the emails that they knew about this since December, which is why we're saying council and the mayor should have had a conversation. And so moving forward, have you had a conversation to find out what is Panther Hill or any other developments gonna do to tap on? I know if we have, moving forward, if you bought a lot that didn't have a line in the city of Prairie View, for you to tap in, you have to pay a fee to be able to bring that to where you're gonna do the same thing Panther Hill would have to do. And so so if we had to go with this proposal for the 285, has there been a conversation? Because the Panther Hill's developers knew about this since December. They went ahead and moved forward with the project. So there must be some cost associated with their development that they're gonna help to make sure that their development goes right, to make sure the city has the above ground or underground storage facility to get the pressure. Same thing that Miss Marie Herndon, the property that she manages, Rodney Gray, then they developed Creekside. Creekside had to put in, at the developer's cost, at their cost, not a cost to the city, they had to put in the same force main system to be able to get water at Creekside. And so I'm just trying to find out why now the city would want to pay this $285 by ourselves. And so how have we had that conversation, if we decide to go with this, how are we gonna get this developer that should be,
Should have done
so how do we do that moving forward? How do we do that?
Keep in mind your initial statement. When the sprinkler company, when these fire water hydrant folks say there's no pressure, they're speaking of the cities not having pressure. That's, you have to, I know you go past it, and I understand that. But what we're looking at now is the city, they could build, hypothetically, let's say they built one. They could build it on their property and we got the same problem. We got the same problem. They don't have to do one that loops. They could take care of them. We have a current issue with our students that our university depends on us to protect. And we could have that discussion. It's been put off in many respects to keep from them coming into tax abatements. That's another discussion. So we could do one or both, but what these folks are willing to do is, and then I have to check to see if they already started, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, they were willing to advance, because I told them we don't have the money. We're a city, but we don't have the money for this. We got a problem, it's ours. They were looking at possibly advancing it because this thing takes a while to order. And we have a situation that's our problem, it's ours. It doesn't belong to anybody else. But look at it, let's go to the next step, because you've got a valid point in there. What is the property tax increase gonna go when we go from those 21 acres, Mr. Johnson, to this mega complex? What is that gonna do? The stores they're building on the corner. See, what you have to look at is, yes, we're spending some money, but how we get that money back? Brookside is our #1 taxpayer in the city. In case you didn't know, it's been that way for the last 10, 11 years. So they've been paying. Now we're gonna have someone else paying. And all we're looking at is telling them, you have to pay. They could turn around and say, okay, well, y'all give us tax abatements, and, we're, mincing words. But we have an issue. They won't be ready for a few months. We got people in Brookside now. Do I need to exert my authority and evacuate them because there's a hazard there? Because I don't need a council thing to do that. Because that's why we had an emergency meeting. You want to ask what the emergency is? That's the kind of thing that Dr. Brown, who came out there and we saw this, those are the conversations we were having with the fire experts. Now, I didn't know what the results were going to be, but when this thing came up, we had a meeting scheduled for Tuesday, and the council that was here got information. I put it on agenda for today, and I scheduled a meeting for Friday, and the results were confirmed. We have a problem. Not the new folks, we. It's on the city main line, folks. Doesn't belong to anybody else. I'm sorry, I think Councilman Wallace was next.
Just from hearing the debate back and forth, the conversation, the same thing keeps reiterated, that we need the people, that can join together to make an accurate decision, because I don't think this council is going to make a decision based off of the information given to us and the solution given to us, because we need to go in a more in-depth look on what we need. We need those people at the table. And obviously, because this is an emergency, we need to make a decision as soon as possible. So I'm about to make a motion, but of course I want it for next meeting as quick as possible. But if I make a motion to, and this is for attorney as well, if I make a motion to table it to the next meeting, is there a possibility that we could have an emergency meeting?
We can have an emergency meeting. Council can tell me when, and I'll see how many of these folks we can get there.
I can ask for an emergency meeting.
But we need to know when. We can't just say meeting, we need to have a date. What's good for council? We only need, what, 2 hours for an emergency meeting,
You
Councilman?
need for an emergency meeting, it's 2 hours, and it has to be for, and this, it could qualify for unforeseen circumstance. If you just got the results and you're trying to figure out what the problem is, because I think that, I just wanna reiterate, and like you said, Councilman Woods, you don't know what the problem is to fix it.
Well, I beg to differ there.
We know what the
We
problem
No, I
don't
mean, you know
have
you-
fire
We
water
don't
pressure.
know.
You have
We
low
don't know what
pressure.
we don't know what the
The
solution
cause
is.
of that low pressure is what I'm saying. You know the problem.
Our folks, and actually this was with, a while back with the city engineer. We have a water map of our lines. They go big and small. You just heard the folks you say take care of that stuff or stay on top of it. What happens with that increase and then decrease in flow? That's our problem. It's throughout, as the city expanded over time, it extended the water lines, which we still do. When somebody builds, we take the water to them as best we can. So with the city's expansion over time, this is what we have. They didn't realize the problem, and now we're trying to at least take care of that area because it's a highly condensed with Brookside having 300 people in a small space. Yes, sir.
I believe, now to read the agenda item, the purpose of this meeting, this item being on here was to come up with a plan. Granted, I understand that this is an emergency and it's something we have to act on fast. I don't think coming back here tomorrow or within the next couple of days is gonna give them enough time to, if we meet tomorrow, we're gonna meet about the exact same information that we have. So we need to give our professionals an opportunity to gather the information, gather plans, give, several plans, and then bring us the information so we can have conversation over an actual solution instead of spending an emergency meeting, spending time talking about what we already know. We know what the problem is. Now we need to figure out how we can move forward. And I believe, in our discussion, we said that we would like, first step of the plan would be for our professionals to meet along with the city engineer. And I guess part 2 of that would be for them to bring us back more information as well as possible solutions. So we can have something. Right now we don't have anything to act on because we know what the problem is, but none of us are water line experts where we can have a solution for it.
Yes, Councilman Jones.
Mr. Mayor, is there any kind of way that, like, how we have USW for emergency, that we could have an emergency, city engineer?
Have the contract right.
I mean, you should be able to call him right now.
Right, he's on payroll.
Councilman Williams.
I asked this question earlier, and I'm gonna make the same statement. We have to hold Clay and Linebacker accountable for what they do, because we write them a check. They're getting paid some major money to not be where we need them to be and help do what we need them to do. So he sent this letter out on May the 8th, 2018, revised engineering plans. I'm a certified special ed teacher, so all this is foreign to me. So we need to have a meeting with him, not with just you, USW and the fire chief. He needs to come meet with all of us so we can have an understanding of what this letter meant that he wrote on May 8th. So again, when do we make him be accountable to us for what he does?
That's why I asked them the question about how much time they thought they would need and how much. I bet our emergency meeting may be to hire a new city engineer. But as far as
Can we have an emergency meeting this week? Not Friday, but this week.
I think if it's that kind of situation, we would have to have 72 hours if we're gonna. But that's why I said we're gonna call the city engineer in the morning, and if he hasn't made the steps to make things happen for us, then we have to put somebody in a position that's going to or can do so. And so I think we need to, when we move forward, I think we have
He's trying to call us up.
He's calling.
The engineer.
Mayor, Council, can I just say something right quick? Yeah, no. This is just not this is just a theory suggestion. We already have 12-inch pipes in the city. Like somebody said, you're going from 12-inch to 4-inch, 12-inch to 8-inch. So you're losing, gaining, losing and gaining. Pressure, the problem really is the GPMs,
What's that?
gallons per minute.
Okay.
I'm sorry, ma'am. So if I'm going from the lift station with 100 pounds of pressure, and I'm coming through let's say a 4 or 6-inch pipe, it's got all the pressure in the world. However, when it hits a 12-inch, I'm gonna lose my GPMs. If you went from a 12-inch to another 12-inch at 100 PSI and just loop it around the whole entire city, you're not worried about gallons per minute or pressure anymore. That's a theory, suggestion.
That has been long-term,
It's not cheap.
what we've been trying, what we, meaning the citizens and people in the city have been trying to do. That is what the EDA grant for the $1 million that's on here is about, off of, on Owens Road and James Muse. So this is not new to us. So the answer to, how do we answer this question is even with the engineer figuring out where would we put this type of system? Because the city doesn't, do we have a property that can hold this? So we're either gonna have to get it, we don't have an easement large enough to be able to put the system off of Richards Road or on that side of town. And so part of this is we are trying to do, again, I don't think we're gonna be able to get these answers to these things in the next 3 to 5 days. But again, I think the email needs to be a different email to our city engineer in reference to the severity of this issue and how we want him to respond, because I do think that, he's on the clock and I think everybody's watching.
The two options, just to touch real quickly on it, is we're looking at one of those two corners, either by the Chevron or across the street. And those folks are talking about possibly donating it. They're having to discuss it, but, because it would interfere with what they plan to do, but they're trying to work with the city and help us. I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilman.
I think that's something that needs to be included in the plan, but, Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Randall.
I'd like to move that the action, that we take the action regarding fire hydrants, water pressure, and water system in the city, any action to remediate any public health or safety issues, be that our USW representative, a fire chief, the mayor, our city engineer, and all sit down and formulate a plan and bring back something to the city council saying what the issues are, as well as what is the plan going forward, reviewing the current recommendation that we have, as well as providing other recommendations that may be effective as well. And I can't really put a timetable on that because, I don't know how long it's gonna take, but as soon as possible. Yeah.
You've heard the motion. I'm not gonna try to repeat that. Okay?
I just want to ask a question.
Well, we need a second. Let's see if we get a second first.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Unreadness, Councilman Williams.
Yes, I'm gonna ask Mr. Randall, would you be willing to amend it and put in there that we only give Line Decker so many hours or a day to respond? Because he don't respond to us at all. I mean,
I think I'll make another motion.
Okay.
The mayor did read a key point in our services, may also, this friendly amendment, add a city council member to that committee as well.
Yes. I'll second.
Councilman Randall? Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah. Councilman Randall?
And if there's a meeting that you can't make because of your work schedule, we'll just adjust. That's fine.
I'll give
Okay.
you my contact